and find out what happens when we just put our foot down. I was not fully prepared for that. Hey crew, I've got the key to that 23 Chrysler 300C. Huh, look at me, I'm a rhyming fiend. Anyway, we are going to take it for a drive, but first, let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. The C trim went away, but it's come back only for the 300 to be completely discontinued after this model year. Up front, we're going to find a black mesh grille with black gloss surround, and you'll know it's the C with these special 300C badges. We have HID headlights still with incandescent turn signals and LED DRLs. Those are above. Some LED fog lights and an extended front splitter in body color matching paint. This paint job is called Velvet Red. It's a sumptuous shade with lots of metallic flake on the surface. At the side, the C gets a set of 20-inch forged alloy dark gray painted wheels wrapped in Goodyear Eagle all-season tires, 245 section front and rear. Within those wheels, up front, we find Brembo 4-piston brakes with red painted calipers. There's body color matching for the door mirror caps, black gloss for the window trim. Stepping back to look at the profile. Boxy. American. I still love it after all this time, especially now how it sits on those wheels. Spectacular. At the back are some LED taillights and LED turn signals. There's a lip spoiler, darkened Chrysler badge, blacked out 300C badge, black plastic diffuser with 2 large black exhaust outlets. Yes, we have been looking at the shape for almost 2 decades, and the facelift was way back in 2015, but I still am enamored by it. It's so clean. My question for you, which do you prefer? The look of this or its twin, the Charger Scat Pack? Let me know in the comments, and let's check out the interior. Opening up and looking inside at this Black Laguna Leather interior with standard rear seat heating, contrast stitching, and seat perforations. On the doors, it's leather up top with black plastic inserts, suede, padded leather for your armrest, hard plastics here and on the lower part of the door. There is a Harman Kardon 19-speaker sound system as standard on the C. Stepping in is easy to do. Behind my own seat at 6 feet tall, I've got good knee room. This is plastic, this is leather. Nice map pocket. Good sized foot pockets to slide my feet under, so thigh support is excellent. Headroom is passable. My head just grazes against the roof, and I can make it back to that headrest, so it gets a thumbs up from me. In the middle, we've got air vents, some plastic trim here, then 2 USB-A ports. The draft shaft dump is pretty big, so getting into the middle is not easy. And then yeah, when I'm here, head definitely doesn't clear the roof. If you don't have a middle passenger, then you do get an armrest that comes down with 2 cup holders and padded leather. My leg is still stuck here. Rear passengers also get a panoramic sunroof to enjoy. Let's check out the front. Door close noise. That's pretty good. Definitely not cheap. Smart keyless entry for the front 2 doors. The front seats are heated and ventilated with 300 emblems on them. Lots of bolstering and power adjustments. You get a Chrysler aluminum tread plate, aluminum accented foot pedals. Your trunk release button is here. And it does pop it all the way up. Like to see that. Inside, why is there a camp chair? Forgot about that. 16.5 cubic feet of space is in the trunk, and you can expand that by folding down the rear seats 60/40. I do wish they folded flat and you could release them from back here, but it's such a big trunk, I'm not going to complain too much. Handle to close up the lid. The front doors look very similar to the back. We add 2 one-touch windows, power adjusting, not power folding door mirrors, and 2 positions of memory for the driver's seat. Sliding in. Oh my gosh, it's far. Pulling that door closed. And then throwing it in accessory mode with 2 taps of the start-stop button. That fires on the analog gauges for the tach and speedo with a TFT in the middle that you can reconfigure. There's stitched leather up on the dashboard, very nice, more black plastic here, contrast stitching here, and then an 8.4-inch Uconnect 4 softwared infotainment system. So yeah, it's last generation and can be a bit sluggish to respond. It does have wired, not wireless, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I think it's the screen size, it being so small on this dashboard underneath the analog clock and the TFT display that are the giveaways to this car's age, though I am a sucker for the blue backlit glow. The steering wheel is leather wrapped, contrast stitched and heated. Feels nice in the hands. The paddles look acceptable from here. Then you go to the back and you see that they're only about an inch tall, smaller even than the Charger's paddles, which stick up a bit more. In the center, we've got gloss carbon fiber trim with a physical volume knob, tuner, and climate control selection, like that these are physical. Tap that to find a slot here for maybe a phone. It's not wireless charging. You do have a DC outlet there. More gloss carbon fiber around your aluminum gear selector. Very nice. Slide this back for 2 cup holders that are heated and cooled under the leather-topped and contrast stitched console. We pull this up, remove that to find a decent bit of storage with 2 USB-A ports, an aux jack, and a DC outlet. Visibility is good up until you get to that seat pillar. Kind of robust there. There is standard blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic. This cabin has some genuine luxuries, like the soft leather seats, the carbon fiber, the suede, the stitched leather. Yeah, the tech is dated and there are some hard, cheap plastics to be found, but for under 60 grand, it's not bad, and that's before we even see how it drives. All right, let's fire it up. Ooh, the thunder. All right, chill out, chill out. I know it's hot, just calm down. Welcome, cabin, camera, crew. I'm just gonna call you cabin crew. Welcome, thank you for joining us in the 300C. For this, joining us, who are you joining? You're joining me. You are joining me, that makes an us, I suppose. 300C, drive review today. Hit this button to pull up our drive modes, and we have track, sport, custom, and auto. One interesting thing to me, custom, usually a customizable mode, and you can indeed do that here, but you can do that with all the modes. You can set up your transmission, the shifting on the paddles, the traction, suspension, and steering in every different drive mode. So just pick which one you like best. I'm going to do auto to start things off, and turning the dial over to reverse brings up a screen filling and very low resolution backup camera. We've been looking at this grade of camera for years now, and I would say it's time to upgrade it, but they're like, we're going to phase out the vehicle, so we're just leaving it. Fine. You do get parking sensors, and we get a waddling crow behind us. We can barely make that out. That's how low res the camera is. We do have trajectory lines, so make sure we don't run over said crow. Turn the dial over to drive, and we'll run over this crow instead. Turning radius test. Better move. There you go. Wheel fully cranked. That is not shabby at all. Turn signal sound. Kind of loud, but it is traditional in note. World famous horn test is next. Classic, yet abrasive, just a touch. Powertrain in the 300C. It's the 6.4 liter naturally aspirated HEMI V8 motor. It's what makes that glorious sound on startup, and it's the reason I love using the remote start function on the key fob. From the comfort of my home or from across the parking lot, fire it up, scare anyone around you, and get the AC going, which is great on a hot day like today. So yes, 485 horsepower, 475 pound-feet of torque at our disposal via an 8-speed torque converter automatic and sent to just the rear tires. You cannot get the 300 in any trim configuration with a different transmission or a different drivetrain layout. And this Mac Daddy 6.4 belongs in the 300. I was so sad when it went away for that handful of model years, and so happy now that it's come back for 23, if only just for a moment before all Hemis seemingly are going to be set off into the sunset, and this entire LX platform that underpins the 300, the Charger and the Challenger, is retired for good, and it's about time. It's been in use for a couple of decades at least and has bones that are sourced from Mercedes-Benzes of decades past. It's time for it to go, but I will sorely miss this motor. I remember when my dad and I first drove the 300 and we drove the C when this vehicle first came out, and of course then it had the 5.7 and not the 6.4. We just fell in love with what the 300C offered in terms of the styling and the grunt from the HEMI engine and the look and the feel. And here it is. This is now effectively what the SRT8 version of the old 300 used to be, though that was the 6.1. This is the 6.4, but we're getting great power in an American rear drive semi-pseudo luxury vehicle, and I just love it, and I'm going to be sad when it's gone. I love it not just for what it stands for, I love it because it's such a balanced package. This car is effectively a narrow body Scat pack, and that is my favorite version of the Charger because everything is just proportional. This motor is not overwhelming to daily drive. The brakes are strong enough, but they're easy to modulate. They're not too grabby around town. And when you're kind of just layering into the throttle in this vehicle, in the auto mode, in the street setting of the transmission, it builds power fluidly. It is not going to terrify you to just get on the throttle. And the NA power just wells up as needed. You can get up to speed gracefully and then enjoy the ride quality from these adaptive dampers that have some stiffness to them to keep the body from wallowing, but they suppress the harshest of the road imperfections. And in addition to these incredibly comfortable chairs, they just support me so snugly and provide acres of padding to also absorb road imperfections that just help the 300C be such a wonderful cruiser. The transmission is smooth and the gear changes for the most part. There are a couple times when it can be caught off guard. If you quickly get back to the throttle, it hiccups for a moment. But as a daily driver, it's velvety. And as you get up to speed, with a partial amount of throttle, you're always going to hear the rumble of that HEMI. But as you back off, it dies down, and listening for the MPH level otherwise, it is respectably quiet for this price point. I'm kind of astonished. You hear tire noise primarily. The wind noise is kept very low. And I had my daughter back here the other day in a car seat, rear facing, and I could hear every word she was saying. Neither she nor I had to shout at all to communicate. So the 300C is clearly amicable to gentle driving behavior, but what about mischievous motivations? Let's pop it into sport and find out what happens when we just put our foot down. I was not fully prepared for that. I've driven the Scat pack and I had forgotten what a punch this thing packs. My goodness. And the sound is like thunder from heaven. Unreal. I am in adoration of this theater. Oh my goodness. The concert of the two, the noise and the grunt, is a beautiful thing. I can't help but do it again. What are EVs going to do to replicate this? I'm all for the emerging technology. I'm really into that. But I don't see how they can replicate not just the sound and not just certainly the motivation they can do, but it's how it rumbles your body in the process that I'm not quite sure how they're going to do. And we got manual mode as well. We can go into the sport powertrain setting with the dial, and then we can pull on these paddles, which are just upsettingly small. But they do prompt hasty shifts. We can take it all the way out to red line, and just have to get used to the fact that we can use a single finger to facilitate our manual shifts. Such a noise. Bravo. When the 300C has the benefit of momentum to put the power down, it seems fine. But what about starting from a standstill with a real-world 0 to 60 test? How are these all-season tires going to handle it? We're going to find out. I've got my race box set up here, and I've got the 0 to 60 timer on the gauge cluster. And in the sport powertrain mode, I'm going to activate the launch control system. You can set your RPM for launch. I kept it pretty low because I know how this is going to go. Foot hard on the brake, pinning the throttle, holding launch, letting go. Set the phone flying, got to 60 in 5.1 seconds, and this one, a little more ambitious, it says 5.0. I actually expected those tires to fully disintegrate, so it's shocking that they held in there to the degree that they did. I know that with stickier rubber, this car would be much, much quicker, and independent tests have seen as quick as 4.4 seconds to 60. Now we got to see how the 300C does when the road gets twistier. So let's pop it in the track drive mode to make sure everything is on full flex and get after it. Could immediately feel this chassis stiffen up from the dampers. Brakes are, well, what is it? Is it the brakes or no? It's the tires. I feel them giving way, and that just zaps confidence when you know this thing can get up to some real speed. What's also giving me a bit of pause is how minimal the feedback is through this wheel. Yeah, track mode has added some heft, but it has not dialed up the communication. So I'm just not sure where the car is going to track. That and the fact that there's such heavy lean in corners, and not just lean, but lean and recoil. So you'll go through a curve, it'll lean heavy and then snap right back, which completely disrupts your flow through corners, hey Challenger, and makes it very difficult on that rear limited slip differential to get the power to the ground, which is again hampered by the all-season tires. So it feels like the right way to take a 300C through a canyon road like this is with a great deal of caution. You go through the corners slowly, you let the track drive mode hold on to your gear, and you find this straight bit of road to then bury your foot to the ground. While not altogether sloppy, the 300C is not a chiseled sports car that would feel comfortable on a technical canyon road. Long sweepers, yeah, you're going to be fine, but anything more is out of the 300C's wheelhouse, if you ask me. That's going to lead to my MilesPerHr word of the day, which for the 23 300C is discreet, meaning careful not to cause offense. And I think it's the simple fact that the 300C is not wearing the Charger Scat Pack's clothing, which by itself has this kind of stigma that goes along with it. That helps it be on a more covert level of performance. Because yeah, you got a 6.4 V8 that when it starts up is going to rattle people, and when you put your foot down, it's certainly going to get you excited. But it's not exuding this brashness that its sister, the Charger Scat, or brother perhaps in this situation, the brotherhood of Dodge kind of exudes. Before talking about pricing and competition, let's discuss fuel economy and top speed. The top speed for the 300C is 175 miles per hour. The fuel economy is 15 mpg in the city, 24 on the highway, and 18 combined. You can get into an entry-level 300 for around $36,000, but if you want the 300C, then you're going to need just under 57 grand. Competitors include vehicles like the Lexus IS 500 with its NA V8 that starts around $59,000, makes 472 horsepower, gets to 60 in 4.5 seconds, has a top speed of 165 miles per hour, and fuel economy of 19 combined. We also have the BMW M340i, which starts around $57,000. It makes 382 horsepower from its turbo inline 6, gets to 60 in just 4.1 seconds, has a top speed of 155 miles per hour, and fuel economy of 26 combined. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Charger Scat Pack narrow body, which starts just under $52,000. It makes the same power, 485 horses, gets to 60 in the same time, 4.4 seconds, has a top speed also the same as this, 175 miles per hour, and fuel economy is equal at 18 combined. Now, each of those vehicles are offering something a little bit different. With the IS 500, you're getting something that looks great on the outside. It sounds fantastic with that NA V8, and it handles with confidence. But you are giving up spaciousness in the cabin. It's very tight inside there, and the technology, at least for now, is pretty dated. The M340i is the most well-rounded sports sedan package of the vehicles I've mentioned. It uses all of its 382 horsepower so effectively in every kind of environment, in a straight line, in a corner, you name it. It's so good dynamically. And it's wrapped up in a brand package that has a lot of esteem to it. The Scat Pack doesn't have the same, well, I've already said, doesn't have the same level of discretion as the 300C, but it also doesn't come with the same equipment. For just under $57,000, this is a fully loaded vehicle. And the Scat Pack, you can't even get some of this equipment in it. Doesn't matter what packages or options you add on. And so I feel like the value of the 300C is much better than the Scat Pack. If you're adding on the wide body version of that vehicle, then it becomes a better sports sedan because you get the better brakes, you get the better suspension, and of course the wider tires, which utilizes its power even better in a more technical environment. For me, it's between the 300C and the M340i. The M340i, as I said, is hard to dispute. The only thing I have against it is that if you're going to try to get one of those in the 50s, good luck to you, because any options you add on to that vehicle are going to take it deep into the $60,000 and even in some cases low $70,000 territory, and that's a lot of money when you're thinking about how much you get in this 300C package. That and the fact that this is such a one for the history books. You're not going to get another HEMI-powered rear-drive sedan from Stellantis ever again. And so when something is as good to drive around town as this, and with the right expectations, still fun to drive in certain performance environments, this might take my pick, at least right now. When this is discontinued next year, my vote's going to go to the M340i, but for now, it's going to be this. Which would you guys choose? Let me know in the comments. Would you have the 300C? Would you have a Scat Pack? Would you have the M340i? Or would you get the Lexus IS 500? I hope you've enjoyed this POV drive review. I certainly enjoyed making it. If you did, please like, comment, and share it. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell to get notified. And I'll see you next time. Yeehaw!